All right. So, debate day. So let's talk about a debate. I was thinking cookies versus sex. So it's funny. When I was in high school, I forget what it was for. I think the subject was, I forget what the name is, I should say. I know what the class was, but it was an economics-based class or something like that in high school. We had to like do a survey to kind of figure out how people perceive different items or services, and you had to base it on different categories too. Like you had to get a sample or whatever from two different groups or more. And I chose to do it first, females versus males. I know, really lame. And my age range for each of them was high school kids, because I was in high school, so the best way to do that was that. Probably took the easy road out. And I posed the question of cookies versus sex. Now, it was funny. I offered the choice of there's a check mark for cookies and there's a check mark for sex, and then there was just a blank check mark I left there. Initially, I was going to take it off, and I was like, well, I'll just leave it there, and if people want, they can write an option for an extra option if they wanted to somehow, but I wouldn't suggest anything. And I was thinking someone would say like, neither of those, pie or something, or a back rub instead, you know what I mean? I sampled something like 25 people, I forget, maybe it was 30, who knows? It wasn't a lot of people. My goal wasn't, my goal at the time was to do 100 people. I think my school only had like 300 or 400 people in it, but anyways, I never got close to 100, I know that. Anyways, I did do equal men and female. And it was funny because almost everyone chose the third option. And all the males essentially chose the same thing, and all the females essentially chose the same thing despite choosing the third option. And I'll explain what it was. I thought it was curious too, and I let them choose it despite the answers being kind of stupid in my opinion, but it was also insightful. The women. The men, sorry, we'll start with the men. The men wrote they couldn't decide. That was it. So essentially, neither, because they couldn't decide. And I always thought that was very curious. I was like, so they're saying if you're giving them a choice and they can only have one, that's what they're going to say. Neither. Obviously, I think most men would choose sex, but I guess cookies are considered a valuable thing to men. And then when I asked the women, they chose both, which surprised me. That was what they checked, both. So they didn't assume they had to choose one or the other. They assumed that why couldn't you have both? So it's curious to me that when you presented the question cookies or sex, the men assumed you had to pick one or the other, or the girls just assumed you could have both if you truly wanted both. I don't know, maybe I'm reading into that too much because it was just a high school project I did. But yeah, most of the women chose both, and most of the men chose neither, or they couldn't decide. Overall, out of the two initial options, sex or cookies, sex won slightly higher over cookies. But yeah, and I guess that sample is a reflection of how I feel about the debate. I think I would choose sex over cookies. I actually do enjoy cookies, especially peanut butter chocolate chips are my favorite. But I mean, cookies are sweet. You can only eat so many. I mean, sex you can kind of do as much as you're capable of doing. And I guess in my opinion you can enjoy sex for longer than you can enjoy cookies. And I feel like sex is probably healthier than eating a bunch of cookies. I guess if you're having sex with a bunch of people, that's not very healthy. But like if you're having sex with one person, a bunch, I mean, that's probably fine. I mean, even if it's a few people, if they're people you know are clean or whatever, or the chances of pregnancy are limited, I mean, I guess that's good. So yeah, I guess if I had to choose between sex or cookies, it would be sex. Not both. I'd be happy without cookies, I think.